excited that I'm joined today by Jane. I know her as Jane. She's better known to the country at large as Lady Janey. She is the queen of customer service. She has an amazing blog and website. It's ladyjaney.co.uk, and it's full of advice on everything from saving money to consumer tips and how to complain. It's fabulous. But Jane is joining me today to talk about something in particular. And it's something that is, I think, a headache for at least one person in every household up and down the country in the run up to Christmas. And it is the big G, gifts. How do you save money on Christmas presents? Different people do it in different ways with varying levels of success. Gosh, Jane, where do we start? I wondered if you could give impart one piece of advice to people who are concerned this Christmas about all the people they have to buy for, or all the money they're expected to spend, all the presents they're expected to source. What would it be? What would be that one sort of magic bullet of advice?
Does it really matter? Really, when you look at the bigger scheme of things, does it really matter? And then we went through the pandemic, and I think in the pandemic we really reassessed those priorities, those things that we held dear to us. We couldn't see our family and friends, whereas this year we can. And so at the end of the day, what's going to be the most important thing for them? Is it getting a gift from you, or are you the gift, as in you actually being there and them having your company? I think we put an awful lot of pressure on ourselves, and we also don't open up their conversations. I've been really surprised at the number of people that have said to me, oh, I felt exactly like that. I didn't know how to say anything. Even just with regard to going to Christmas parties, with regard to buying gifts, with regard to sending cards, we all feel this kind of obligation. Oh, it's Christmas and we must do it. But there's a lot of people, as you know, who said feeling very uncomfortable, very pressured. And I think if we can take that pressure off, then that's a good thing. If you can spend, then of course spend. We have to have a balance between supporting the retail industry and also our own personal situations. But if you can't and you need to make cuts, then open up those conversations with those people that you love and you trust.
Sounds fantastic. I do have a question though, which is, when we're running this close to Christmas, is it too late? Is it too late to say that to somebody?
I don't think it's ever too late, really. And I think anyone that really values you won't ever question your decision. They might say to you, why didn't you tell me earlier? Because they would have wanted to support you.
What if they say, oh no, I've already bought you a present?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? And that's the trap that we all fall into. If you buy me a present, for example, am I going to feel obliged to buy you one? And I think we just really have to get a bit of it's not a stiffer back, is it? There's a phrase, but I think we need to have a little bit more backbone about it ourselves and have a belief in our own convictions and say, look, that's really lovely that you did that. And I can't thank you enough. I'm just not in a situation this year where I can reciprocate, but there's a whole host of other things that we can do for people. It doesn't necessarily need to be monetary gestures by the way of gifts.
Uh-huh. This sounds to me like you have something in mind, or maybe a few things in mind.
I do. I mean, I've done a fair bit of skill swapping. So, for example, for my own social media skills and marketing skills, then I've swapped those with a friend who I know, and she said to me, I can't afford Christmas presents this year, but what I can do is if you help me with my business website, I will provide you with chocolate and fudge. So, of course, I am very happy to be provided with chocolate and fudge, because that means that I don't have to put the outlay out to buy it for other people for Christmas. So you can exchange your skills. Maybe you're very creative. Maybe you can make cards. Maybe you're someone that can create gifts of one type or another, and therefore you can share those in your little circle of friends. It doesn't necessarily need to be something that you're going to have to pay out money for. But there's a whole host of other things that you can do. I mean, of course, people are talking about sort of self-made gifts, and you can also do little tokens. You'll do X, Y, and Z for someone, maybe some paid babysitting for 3 nights, or something. So that is a really nice voucher idea that you can do and print yourself. So of course, there are those suggestions, but everyone probably likes a little bit of something, and I do have a lot of tips as to how you can give a little bit of something but still not spend a penny.
Please tell us more.
Yeah, well, the best thing you can do is to sign up to the freebies sites. So you've got Magic Freebies. .co.uk. You've also got latest free stuff, and you can follow the links on those sites and sign up to do surveys or just sign up to get the samples. Obviously, always watch what you're signing up for. That's the thing with me as a cross between a consumer blogger and also a UK money blogger. You've got to watch those T's and C's. You don't want to be ending up anything popping into your inbox or end up signing up for anything that will cost you money. So make sure you look it, but be quite dedicated about how you do that, because you can spend quite a lot of time just applying for this, that, and the other freebie. Whereas what you need to think is, okay, my sister, she loves perfume, so I'm going to keep an eye out for all these perfume samples and create a hamper of perfumes, a special little gift box just for her. And actually, I think it's more thoughtful in a way, because I've had it said to me, oh, well, it's not very thoughtful, is it, just getting freebies and giving them out to people or re-gifting what you've got? But of course it is, because you're thinking more about the present. You're thinking more about, oh, they'd really like this, and you're spotting things, oh, that'll be lovely, I'll put that in. So the couple of things there. You can also enter competitions. I've turned into a complete loon in this respect. I'm entering everything possible. I am a super top fan of superlucky.me, our friend Di, because she is amazing and so inspirational, because you've got to be in it to win it. And if you can't use the presents this year or any gifts or freebies that you get, then create a stock for next year, because I wish I'd started earlier, definitely.
Me too. And I should say, you mentioned a few websites now, and I just wanted to repeat them again for people listening, because there's some really good resources there. So the first one, was it Magic Freebies?
Magic Freebies, yep, .co.uk.
The second one is Latest Free Stuff.
Yes.
All one
and
word.
We've got Super Lucky Me.
And superlucky.me is the website that's run by our blogging pal Di, who is a competitor extraordinaire. Her superpower, her super talent is winning competitions. So if you are interested in winning prizes from competitions, and I think Di's won everything from gift sets to holidays, then superlucky.me is a great one to check out. Can I ask you, Jane, you were talking earlier about being honest with people who might be expecting gifts from you at Christmas, and saying to them, look, because of the situation I'm in, it's going to be difficult for me this year. We traditionally are a nation of people who are terrible at talking about money. We don't like to do it. It's in marked contrast to certain other countries. America springs to mind, where money and income and financial situations are much more open, and people feel much more comfortable talking about that. Traditionally, we don't here in the UK. We don't like it at all, and we keep our cards, plastic or otherwise, very close to our chest. Do you think that in the light of everything that's happening at the moment, we have the economic instability, the cost of living crisis, off the back of years of COVID misery at this point, people are more open than they have been in the past about how they're faring or not faring financially, or do you think there's still a stigma attached to that? Is it, I suppose what I'm asking, is this an easy conversation to have, or an easier conversation to have than it would have been just a few years ago?
Yeah, I think there'll always be a stigma that we're going to have to deal with for whatever reason. But I do think you've hit the nail on the head there, and that it is something that is actually easier because of the conversations that we've had to have during the pandemic. And it's funny you talk about us not wanting to talk about our financial situation, but it's very much like that in the world of consumer rights. We are a nation that does not like to complain. And yet, over the last year, since the pandemic, we've complained more than we've ever complained. So even that is changing. Our consumer habits changing, our financial habits are changing, and our own habits are changing in general, in terms of we are prioritising our own self-care and health. And if people don't understand that, then if people don't understand that, then they probably shouldn't be in your circle of gift recipients anyway. But I'm sure in any supportive environment that people will understand, and that those conversations, as you said, are ones that we need to have. and quite urgently so.
Sounds good. So perhaps these conversations may be a bit easier to have than they would have been just a few years ago.
Yeah, and money saving doesn't need to be boring or horrible. It can be quite fun, especially if you get into this routine of looking for freebies and entering competitions, using the supermarket reward points together as a family. Think about it as a family. Think about doing it together. How can we do this? How can we make this more fun, more interesting? Because you can also, look at recycling and sharing sites. People are giving away things for free. You've got community groups being set up that have got toys, gifts, anything really that you are looking for. You just need to keep your eyes out for it. Nextdoor.co.uk, maybe people are advertising local to you. If you're looking for your food shop, then you've got Olio, which is a food sharing app, initially a waste reduction app, but now used to share food, but it does have non-food items there too. So it can actually turn to be quite fun, looking into different ways that you can try and reduce your costs. You don't have to spend a fortune so that you care, do you?
I completely agree. And I think it's also, you referred to this earlier, it's also about looking at what resources you have. And this may well not be cash resources, but what else do you have at your disposal? So if you have time, for example, if you have the time to spare, then you can put effort into those homemade gifts. I remember going back a few years now, one Christmas when my husband and I were very skinny, but he's an amazing woodworker. He does it for a job. And he made carving knives and carved the handles for all the people in our family. And they were beautiful, really beautiful. A bit different now because circumstances change. I've no idea how he could possibly find the time to do that now. But at the time, it was a fantastic and budget-friendly gift option. So it's about the art of the possible, isn't it? If you don't have money, what do you have that could become a gift?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And we need to be more resourceful. And we have become so again during the pandemic, post-pandemic. We've become more resourceful, and we've used our initiative, and we've thought outside the box as to how we can how we can achieve and how we can afford what we actually want. Because there's big focus, isn't there, on wants and needs, and there's a big difference there between the two. So it's trying to find that balance, that compromise, really, and not having those awkward conversations, making those conversations non-awkward ones is a challenge, but it's certainly doable.
Oh, I hope so. And I wonder if we take somebody who is cash poor, time poor, as so many of us seem to be these days. The run up to Christmas is on. It's Advent. The countdown is happening. If you are in this position and you still have gifts to buy, and perhaps you don't feel you're in a position to politely decline to buy gifts for your loved ones that year. If you've got children, for example, and you don't want them to miss out on the Christmas gift experience, what then? Where can you turn?
Well, it's a bit, as I said earlier, that you can look to your local community, because there are Facebook groups for your local community where people are putting messages on there. I've got this, I've got that, I can share this, I can do that. And also link up with other parents. Link up with other parents and share your ideas, because you may have one diamond tip that you can share, and someone else may say, oh, have you tried this or have you tried that? So I think be open to ideas and be open to kind of different things. And, it is difficult, especially to children, and it is all about the children at Christmas, even big children like myself. But it is about the children. So in your family, in your group, then the tendency is that you will prioritise as much as possible so the children get their gifts, and that's quite rightly so. So I just think, as we've said, we really just need to try and think outside the box, and look to see what's available in the local community, in the local neighbourhood. Look to see what events are going on locally, free events that you can go to, and that they often give out free gifts while you're there. Anything that you can treasure trove for your children.
What a fantastic phrase, treasure trove. I might keep that one. I might treasure that.
Yeah, get them involved in designing cards. If you've got a printer that you can use, that you can print things out on, or you've got old cards that you can cut up, get them involved in it, because then they're excited in a different way about Christmas. Because obviously, our friend arriving via the chimney is the most exciting point of that particular day. Of course it is, but also it's the big build up to it. So I think we always need to remember that, the magic of Christmas, and make sure that at least is not forgotten, even if it's all a bit doom and gloom in terms of prep for us.
Is there anything we could do with older children who perhaps are not excited about Santa? They feel too old for that, yet have high expectations of what they hope to get for Christmas. How do we manage those expectations?
Yeah, well, that comes back to those all-important conversations, because they're certainly old enough to actually understand, what you're doing and why you're doing it. And therefore, this is an optimum time to have those conversations. And I think over the last year or so, in the year of the squeeze, then we have had to have those difficult conversations and to share what we are doing in the family to save energy, for example, to save money, make that, a family initiative. This needs to be a whole group effort. It's not single people on their own necessarily. We need to come together on this and try and pool ideas as to how it works or not. So I think that's the best thing I can kind of say in that respect. Just keep those conversations going, because that's what we've been learning for quite a long time now, and we need to stick to it.
Can I ask you, Jane, what is the most amazing Christmas present that you have ever received? Not necessarily the most extravagant, expensive present, but the one that has made you happiest.
I was proposed to at Christmas, if that helps. But,
wow.
Yeah, that was some time ago now. It was Christmas time. But off the top of my head, I really can't remember. I really can't think of anything specific. I'm always a happy bean.
Okay, can I ask, was it a proposal that you accepted?
Yes, it was, yeah.
Because that sounds like it would make the difference between being an amazing Christmas present or a completely disastrous one.
Yeah, and I was presented with the diamond of my ring. So I think that has to probably come at the top. Yeah, in the top 3 at least. But no one needs to get diamonds to be happy at Christmas. Look, I have a Merry Christmas jumper.
Oh, I hope not.
Yeah, which is all important. I should have thought of that before. I came on to talk to you about a favourite gift. Anything that people have thought about me and thought, that's Jane, then that's lovely.
So it's the consideration and the care, the thought that's gone into it.
Yes, and it is the thought that counts. And that's what we're missing all the time. There's this big build, we've got to spend more, we've got to do more, we've got to show how much we care. We can show how much we care without having to spend a penny, really. It's just those expectations and managing those expectations. And as we've said quite rightly, looking after the children and making sure they're happy, it is a priority. And because Christmas is really not all about them.
Great. Thank you, Jane. Let's sum up what we've got so far, because we have been talking non-stop. And at this point, I think we have a roll call of suggestions, ideas and recommendations for what people can do to save money on their Christmas gifts this year. So we have, first up at the very top of the list, if Christmas is going to be difficult for you, if you have not got the resources in place to spend out on lovely gifts for all the loved ones in your life, be honest about it, have honest conversations. It's not too late, even as Christmas morning itself approaches, it's not too late to have those conversations and be honest about your situation. These conversations can feel mortifying, but it's a lot easier to have them than it was even just a few years ago. We also have, in this lovely digital world, lots of web resources available to us. So we have Jane's own site, ladyjaney.co.uk, but we've also got some really good recommendations. We've got magic freebies, latest free stuff, superlucky.me if you fancy chancing your arm with some competitions. It might be a bit late for this Christmas, but definitely a good site to keep a tab on anyway. Competitions throughout the year. Start collecting for next Christmas. We have emphasis on it being the thought that counts rather than the expense, the cost of the gift that you want to buy. We have prioritising for children and making sure that if you are on a limited budget, that you keep the kids first and foremost, keep the magic of Christmas alive for them. But bear in mind that it's not the actual gifts that they are likely to find the most exciting thing about this very exciting time of year. What have I missed, Jane? I feel like there's more.
Yeah, well, share reach out to your community.
That's it. Facebook groups, and I do think these have proliferated in lockdown as well. There seem to be more than there were a couple of years ago. We used to be dependent on FreeCycle, didn't we? And some sites like FreeCycle, but now there seem to be a lot of groups on Facebook in particular where people will give good things away for free. They just want to see them go to a good home. So if you are new to these groups, if you haven't encountered them yet and you're on Facebook, I would suggest that you search within Facebook using words like your hometown or home area and the word free or thrift or frugal in the title. You may well be surprised by what you find there. Anything else? I'm aware that time is pressing on. Any other great gift ideas that I haven't recapped or we haven't covered?
No, just make sure you don't miss a trick. I've signed up to advent calendars where you can every day open a new window for major department stores, and if there's something there, then that's great. I've just got free photo prints. I've got my free wrapping paper. So everything's stacking up. So just keep your eyes peeled, and you don't necessarily, we're all on our phones quite a lot anyway, but you don't necessarily need to do that. You just need to look when you are there, and you never know what might pop up, and try it. Try it out, try something different.
Well, this sounds like a fabulous guide to a stress-free Christmas gift purchasing experience. And thank you very much, Jane, for all these tips.
Thank you so much.